All right, thank you and welcome everyone to the University of Winnipeg's Open House webinar this evening. I would like to acknowledge that the University of Winnipeg is located on Treaty 1 territory and the homeland of Métis Nation. Our water is sourced from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation. Today's webinar will feature a presentation by Dr. Hugh Grant, David Duvall, and Dr. Soham Bakshi. The presentation will cover information about the degrees offered by the Faculty of Business and Economics in Economics, Economics and Finance, and Business Administration, which includes concentrations such as accounting, marketing, human resources, and organizational behavior, cooperative enterprises, and international business. We will also have some time for a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Please make sure to type in your questions in the Q&A tool below. Also, just to remind you, closing out our open house festivities later today, we will have a seminar about information on how to apply to the University of Winnipeg, as well as information on awards and financial aid. The webinar will begin at 6 p.m. today. I'll forward the presentation on to Dr. Grant.
Okay, well, thank you, Nikita. I don't have a presentation. I'm just going to mention that I'm the Dean in the Faculty of Business and Economics, which houses two departments, the Department of Business and Administration and the Department of Economics. So I'm just really here to do introductions and pass the discussion off to people that know a lot more about their programs than I do. So if I could, then I might just, if I may, just turn it over to David Duvall to talk about the Department of Business and Administration.
Sounds good. Thank you, Hugh. Appreciate that. Hi, everybody. I think there's 4 participants we have now, so it's nice to see you. What I'll do just very briefly is give you an overview of our department, and then perhaps we can ask or answer some questions after my colleague Soham Bakshi presents about economics. So we're the Department of Business and Administration. We have almost 25, we have 24 and a half people, I think, at last count. We have half a person who splits his time between economics and us because he teaches in corporate finance. But we have a range of people from around the world who have joined us as faculty. Some of us have been around for over a decade now. So we're almost lifers, and we've amassed quite a bit of experience, but we've been constantly hiring for almost every year that I've been here at the University of Winnipeg for about 12 years now. And we've recently onboarded some great new staff in the fields of marketing and human resource management. So we have a great group, a great diverse group, a lively group, a friendly group. We all seem to get along, and staff meetings tend to be quite lengthy simply because it's a good opportunity for us to catch up and chat. So what I thought I would do is give you an overview of our degrees that we offer in the department. We offer a 3-year Bachelor of Business and Administration degree. We offer a 4-year general degree, also a Bachelor of Business Administration. I'll go through the distinctions between the two shortly. We also offer a 4-year Bachelor of Business and Administration degree with a focus on economics and finance, or as we call it colloquially in the department, EFIN. And then we offer a 4-year BBA degree, Bachelor of Business Administration degree, in several areas of concentration, specific areas of concentration. That's a nomenclature or a naming system that has a bit of historic antecedents to it. And if you thought of these as majors, that would be completely, you'd be forgiven for that. And I'll go through what some of those options are in just a minute. One of the things that we often do is we push for and recommend a 4-year BBA degree. We consider this to be our flagship degree that we offer, because it's a 4-year degree. It is considered the standard length of a typical business degree in most parts of the world. That's just for the most part what you would expect to see out of a BCom degree or a BBiz degree. But our Bachelor of Business Administration at the 4-year degree is designed to more or less emulate that as a standard length of a typical degree. We find that, and the reason we push it is that many employers expect a lot of the knowledge and the skills that come with some of the advanced courses that we offer in this particular degree. So it's a direct result of speaking with and discussing with employers about what they're looking for from graduates of a business degree in 2023. Because it is a 4-year degree, it'll give you some advanced competencies and skills relating to that previous point, which it's designed to do, and it affords a deeper knowledge of subjects in specific areas that you can investigate. And just as an aside, one of the courses that we offer is a special topics course, and I'm running one this semester that deals with air transport regulation and management. And we're doing a very deep dive in terms of the regulatory systems that surround air transport in Canada. And that's just not something that you would get in a lot of, well, you wouldn't get it in a 3-year degree, and you wouldn't even get that in some other types of degrees around Canada as well. So we get some very specialized, in-depth, deeper understanding of subjects as students. So it affords you that opportunity to specialize and come out of a 4-year degree saying, look, we really have a good understanding and a solid base of knowledge and understanding of a special subject. So I mentioned those areas of concentration, and I've just mentioned how you can specialize. Well, here are the ways in which you can specialize. So we offer right now 5 areas of concentration. So you can focus on accounting, for instance, and we are accredited through CPA Manitoba. So it's a pathway for you to become an accountant formally. We offer a concentration in marketing, international business, human resources management, which is mixed in with organizational behavior, and then a new one that's just come on stream this year in supply chain management, or you might know it as operations management. So we offer that as an option, and we find that accounting tends to be quite popular, as is marketing. But it has to be said that we also find that a very popular combination or popular area of concentration is no area of concentration. So we have quite a few students who do a 4-year BBA degree with us without focusing necessarily in any one of the concentrations that you see here, but instead take courses from all over, from different areas, including HR and international business and supply chain. So they get the benefit of both worlds in that respect. So at your first year with us, I'll just point out, and you probably already would know this if you've been researching a little bit about our programs, you will need Math 40S, which specifically pre-calc or applied in order to begin your first year business courses with us. That's a requirement. So we need to know that you have a good understanding of some of the baseline pre-calc and applied mathematics for you to be able to start studying business courses with us. In your first year, you will likely take these 2 courses with us, Intro Business 1 and Intro Business 2. These are designed to give you just an overview, a bit of a flavor for the various subjects and the scope of really understanding business in Canada in 2023. It's very complex. It's multivariate, as we often say. There's lots going on. Usually these courses are survey courses in the sense that you get introduced to topics and as they apply to current events and current news items. And as you can imagine, there's lots going on in our economy in Canada today, which gives us lots to discuss in both of these types of courses. So your first year will include those 2 courses. That gives you an introduction to the wide field of study of business. And from there, you can decide what pathway you would like to take, whether it's going to be specialized in an area of concentration or otherwise. We also ask you to take 2 introduction to economics courses, one in microeconomics, one in macroeconomics. And our belief is firmly that you can't understand the modern business environment if you don't have an understanding of micro and macroeconomics. So we ask our friends literally on the 4th floor, one up from us, to supply those courses, and they're happy to do so. And we thank them for that every year because it does help our students really understand the broader environment. So you will be taking those 2 courses as well. You will also be doing another math course. And what this does is this builds on what you would have received in Math 40S pre-cal or applied, and it refines a lot of those topics and then introduces some additional ones. And the reason that we have you take this in your first year is that you cannot continue on into second year business courses unless you've done either one of those 2 courses that you see there, Economics 1201, or our colleagues over in Mathematics and Statistics offer Math 1301. Once you've completed that successfully with, I think, a grade of C+ or greater, you can continue on to study business. And again, the reason we do this is that once you start studying business courses at the second year, we need to be reasonably confident that you've got a good mathematical background and an understanding of some of the more applied nature and how you actually fundamentally undertake some analysis and reasoning using mathematics for those second year courses. So we require that. And then finally, in your first year, you'll probably be taking, and we would recommend that you do this, is take an academic writing course. There is a specific academic writing course devoted to business, but the other ones that are not devoted to business will or are acceptable, and that's completely fine. The reason we ask for this is that communication, written communication, is absolutely vital. And we need to be sure and confident that you have at least an ability to undertake written expression in the written form so that you'll be successful as you go forward in second and third and fourth year courses. So that's year one. When you get to year two, you take what we call the fundamentals. So you will take additional courses that do a bit more of a deeper understanding of organizational behavior, HR management, operations management, marketing, and then you have a choice to do financial accounting or financial management. If you were thinking of studying accounting, you would likely do financial accounting. If you were thinking of not necessarily studying accounting, you would do financial management. And then in addition to that, we also get you to take a course that looks at specific government business relations in Canada. And there's two options for that. There's one offered by the Political Studies Department, and the other one is offered by our colleagues in economics. Both of those help you situate more broadly and more specifically, in some cases, the relationship that business has with governments and regulation and so on and so forth. And this just gives you an excellent grounding so that you can, I always tell my first year students that the objective of the course is so that you can win arguments with friends and family. And that's the idea. Once you're getting to this stage, you'll have a pretty good understanding of how things work. I won't go through all of the courses that we offer, but here's a sampling that you would be taking or have available to you at third and fourth year. Marketing research, you will learn to understand and learn to survey respondents and survey consumers and understanding how they purchase, their purchase behavior, even post-purchase behavior. For instance, we offer courses in ethics, taxation, consumer decision-making, investments, entrepreneurship, you name it. And right there in the very middle, we have a suite of special topics courses that we've started introducing for the past couple of years. That allows us to really, and these are at the fourth year, it allows us to introduce special topics in areas devoted particularly to faculty research and their own personal external experience that they've amassed outside the university, and students get to benefit from that. So at any given year, we're usually offering 2, maybe 3 of those, depending, and that can actually be quite useful for a lot of students. I did a number of years ago, I did a bit of an exercise where I went into my LinkedIn profile and I looked at recent graduates from the University of Winnipeg and I tried to see what they were doing. And it was quite humbling because this gives you a sense here that you see the range of, I guess, trajectories that our graduates follow once they finish with our program. And we really do feel like proud parents, and I probably speak for Dr. Grant and Dr. Baxley, we really do feel quite proud of our graduates, regardless of where they end up, because some of them are just remarkable individuals and they've done so well. And it really is quite nice to see, but it's something that's quite fun to watch. I've just given you a couple of examples of here. These are a couple of our business grads from a few years ago, started an online office furniture supply store. I believe this started out as a side gig for them, but I think it might have actually grown to the point where they spend quite a bit of time on this. And another one more locally here, these are 2 of our grads that have started a tire repair and supply mobile business I've purchased tires from them and certainly had them come out to do the winter swap of tires for winter wheels and the spring swap again. And it's tremendous. They've really made a go of it. So these are just 2 brief examples of some of the successes of some of our students. Again, we're really quite proud of them. So that's our website, and that's our email address. If you have any questions, please do feel free to be in touch with us. We'd be more than happy to kind of assist if you had any questions. So I think I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Thanks, David. So, yeah, so maybe we'll have Dr. Bakshi present, and then we can deal with questions in a more free-ranging way. So thanks for that, David. And
Sure.
Shoham, what do you say?
Unmute myself and then share my presentation. And hopefully you can see what I see on my screen.
Perfect. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so hello everyone. I am Shoham Bakshi. I'm the chair of the Department of Economics. And what I will do is in this presentation is give you a brief overview of the discipline of economics and also talk about the different programs that are offered by the department. This is with the sort of understanding that some of you may not be familiar what economics is about. So broadly speaking, economics is a social science, of course, and it studies scarcity and choice. So it studies the choices made by individuals, businesses, governments, and other organizations while using scarce resources. And this is studied under the area of microeconomics. As Professor Duval was talking a bit earlier, there's microeconomics and there's macroeconomics. So under microeconomics, you look at sort of individual decisions that are taken. And there's macroeconomics, which is the other area, which looks at the consequences of those choices that are made by individual consumers or companies and so on. And under macroeconomics, you would be looking at the implications of those choices for income, for price, inflation, unemployment, pollution level, and so on. So this is just kind of a broad kind of breakup of the discipline that is made in terms of analyzing the different issues that are dealt with. Now, what would you learn as an economics student? So, as an economics student, you would learn to use theory and data to analyze decision-making, to evaluate programs, make forecasts, and also explain social phenomena. So you would spend a lot of time, for example, learning how to use theory and data to establish the cause-effect relationship between variables. So just to give you some example, you would, for example, learn how changing the minimum wage would affect a firm's decision to hire workers, and how that in turn would affect the unemployment rate in a region. Or another example might be how changing the carbon tax rate affects the demand for fossil fuels like gasoline, and how that affects in turn the emissions of greenhouse gases. So you learn how to establish these cause-effect relationships using both theory and data. And this is important not only in order to sort of make or get a better sense of the world around you, but also in order to make these interventions that you may want to make in order to make things better. So in order to do those interventions, you have to understand first how these variables are related to each other. And economists spend a lot of time sort of just trying to understand and then establish the cause-effect relationship between variables. Now, economics graduates are sought after for their flexible analytical skills, and they find employment in businesses, governments, banks, research institutes, and so on. And I think in the next slide, I have listed some organizations where our past graduates have found employment. Ranges from a private company like Amazon to, government departments like Indigenous Services Canada or Prairies Economic Development Canada, and so on. But I would also like to point out that economic analysis is used not only by economists, but also by practitioners of other disciplines like accounting, finance, and law. In fact, in the past, some of our honors graduates have gone on to pursue higher studies in law and are actually, successful lawyers now, and so on. In terms of sample courses, so we have our first year courses, the intro microeconomics, intro macroeconomics, and then we require our students to take one course in math, one course in statistics, and so on. But here are some sample courses from the second and third year in terms of electives that you would have to choose from. And just to give you a sense of the types of courses that you would come across should you pursue a major in economics, they would see courses like environmental economics or money and banking or cost benefit analysis and so on. And each course is worth 3 credit hours. So they are kind of one-term courses that are worth 3 credit hours. And in terms of the degrees offered, we have several degrees, starting with a 3-year BA in economics, and then there's a 4-year BA in economics. And the way these different degrees work is you have to sort of fulfill specified criteria before you, requirements really, before you sort of are eligible to get a degree. For example, the 3-year BA in economics requires you to complete 90 credit hours. And so each course is a 3 credit hours. So you would have to take 30 courses and so on. The 4-year degree, of course, provides you a stronger training in economics because you take more courses and at a sort of deeper level. And then there's the BA honors in economics where you take honors level courses. And we recommend this degree for students that wish to pursue higher studies, graduate studies in economics, or even law for that matter, or finance and so on. Then as Professor Duval was mentioning, we have a 4-year Bachelor of Arts as well as a Bachelor of Business Administration degree in economics and finance. And this is actually a unique program which combines courses from economics, business, finance, and quantitative methods, and prepares students for a career in finance. And finally, we have a 1-year Master of Arts in Applied Economics, should you wish to pursue sort of higher studies after the undergraduate level. In terms of high school math requirements, we have a similar math requirement as the Department of Business and Administration. So you need to have that pre-calculus math 40S or applied math 40S or an equivalent course in order to sort of get into the program. And students that do not have this math requirement can actually do have the option of taking equivalent courses offered by the Department of Mathematics and Statistics at the university. And then they would be sort of eligible to enter the economics program. Finally, in terms of extracurricular and co-curricular activities, our students have the opportunity to sort of pursue various activities outside of the classroom. So just to give some example of such activities offered by at the departmental level, our students regularly take part in competitions that are organized by the Bank of Canada, the Governor's Challenge, for example, or the CFA, which has a research challenge and so on. And we also have a students association that is, they organize sort of different events from time to time, and also run the tutoring center, which is where free tutoring services are offered by senior students to sort of first year and second year students. And that's free for these students. That's it from me. So if you want more information, you can visit our website or send me an email or ask me questions or Professor Duval questions right now.
Okay, sounds great. Not sure if we've expanded the number of participants. We haven't lost any, Nikita, so we're hanging in.
That's right.
No, we haven't lost any.
So, yeah, I guess
Open up for questions.
we can open up for questions, or I had a couple of my own, but Nikita, is your chat line flooded with all sorts of questions, or how are you doing?
Yeah, we don't have any questions in the Q&A toolbox, but I do have a question for the panelists. And one of the questions that I want to ask is on behalf of the students is that, what is the difference between a college and a university, and why would one choose to do a 4-year university degree rather than a 2-year college diploma?
I can make a stab at that, actually. I had an experience, it would have been about, I guess, 7, 8 years ago. The province of Manitoba called together a bunch of individuals, experts, deep thinkers, I guess they didn't use that phrase, but and they called a bunch of us together. I was fortunate enough to be asked to participate, and it was regarding the overall trajectory of economic development in the province. And the biggest takeaway I took from the session actually was the fact that I realized that that is exactly the kind of environment where you will find a university graduate. You'll find a university graduate because they will have the depth of understanding, the acceptance and acknowledgement that most of the issues, and I don't want to call them problems, but situations that we find ourselves in economically as a country, as a world, as a province, as a city, most of the problems that we find ourselves situated with or facing are multivariate, they're complex, they require a level of understanding, I would argue, both in business and in economics, in support of both of our programs. And I think that's that level that you get. You also get exposed in a university, you get exposed to people who are at the cutting edge of research and understanding some of these types of questions. So the three of us here are all active researchers. We have a deep understanding and appreciation for not only just the narrow, I guess, components of our field, but more broadly where they fit together and where they fit with others as well. So it's not unusual to have or find us, discussing these kinds of things in hallways or even in classes with students. And I think it's important to keep that distinction in mind.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just echo what Professor Duval said. And yeah, I would just mention that for the depth and the breadth that you get from a university degree, I guess those 4 years are really worth it and, are needed. You just don't have enough time within a 2-year diploma to get to the level of depth and breadth that you get from a university degree, I guess.
I've got to congratulate both of you on taking this high road. I want to take the low road. And so this is a really interesting, timely question. I was preparing the other day, I have to go to Red River College to do a sort of recruitment presentation because there's a business diploma program there. And if you complete the program, a 2-year program, I think we would transfer in, I think about the equivalent of 1 year's credit. So we do have a transfer program. But anyway, I'm preparing for it. I think, okay, what am I going to say to these college students? And so, yeah, I did a little sniffing around. So about a year ago, there was a Stats Canada report that came out. The data is, maybe 5 years old, but still, it's pretty reliable data. So for Manitoba, they actually provided the average earnings that you would make after, 5 years after you graduate with a business, either diploma or university degree or master's degree, MBA probably. How much would you make? And so 5 years after getting your college diploma, the median income was $44,400. Okay, and that was in 2020 dollars. So some accounting for inflation. 5 years after a bachelor's degree in business, as opposed to a diploma, 65,000. And then of course the pathway on to a master's degree or an MBA was about 101,000. So the difference is really striking. And I know Shoham knows this. The story we've always told is, you graduate with a diploma and you graduate with a degree and you go onto the labor market, and the wage gap may not be very great at that point. You may get a very similar kind of salary offer, but the big difference when you have that university degree, you get more into that sort of on-the-job training situation. So the company's investing in you a lot more versus the college degree may not really prepare you for that. We talk about things like critical thinking and analytical skills. Those are the things that I think most employers are looking for when they want to invest in furthering employee training. So it's really quite striking. And I know it's been a changing world a lot, and certainly some trades have been, very well paid now. But the quality of a university degree, there's still, like a really good payoff. And so what we would say, it's just a really good investment, like anything else. You know, there's a cost associated with this, with tuition payments, and then you ask yourself, what are the benefits in the other end? And the benefits of a university degree remain quite remarkable. And so think of the long haul, think of your, you know, really the career trajectory. And it tends to be, it still is a very, very sound investment.
Good answer.
And despite what the other two said, it's also, you know, really good for you, but I'm just saying it's good for your income. And as David and Shoham have emphasized, there's also a lot of non-monetary and tangible benefits as well. Yeah, I'm just, yeah,
like
it's my job. I gotta take the low road. So
I like it. No, that's good. I like that. There's a question here in the chat. I'm going to start my 4-year BBA studies in May. Great, welcome. Do you have any suggestions about which course is better to take for 6 weeks? If you're just starting out, Yasmin, we're going to be offering both Biz 1201 and Business 1202 in the spring. It's going to be taught by a colleague of mine, Dr. Fantazi. Great fellow, actually, you really like him. I would suggest those 2 courses to start. Be careful with spring. Just here's some fatherly advice that you didn't ask for. Be careful with spring semester because it can be condensed. It can be, and it means that it can be quite busy. And as a result, you want to give yourself a bit of a chance to really understand that material and do as best you can. I don't know what kind of a student you are, but just be wary of that. And he said, also, I've added some courses to my plan and WebAdvisor. Don't have the name of the professor. Could you help me, please? Yeah, that's Dr. Fantazi, and he's going to be teaching 1201 and 1202 in the spring. And welcome. I hope you enjoy your studies with us. And then someone else asked here, I'm a 2nd degree applicant. Do I really have to send you high school transcripts? I don't know. I wouldn't think so.
I
Nikita?
can answer that on
Oh.
behalf of admissions and recruitment. So when you do have previous post-secondary education, we do require you to still send us all documentation starting from high school up to your latest, just to make sure that you do have all the requirements that we look for admissibility purposes, but also to make sure that you do have the foundations for the faculty that you're entering. So we do still require the high school transcripts to come in.
That makes sense, because if we're asking for 40S applied or pre-cal, we need to see that you have that. So yeah, of course. Yeah, I should have known that. Good questions. I like those.
You know, maybe we should talk a little bit of the experience outside the classroom. I know Shoham mentioned some of the student-run activities. I guess listen, we've all come through a, you know, sort of difficult 2-year pandemic experience. And I'm not sure what your experience as a student was, but certainly our experience as instructors was not as terrific as we'd hoped. And, you know, we're slowly getting back to that in-person thing, but it's been a tentative one. But so I think what we've really missed is just having fellow students around. We can talk about, and we may need to talk about how many of our courses can be offered hybrid and in person. But, you know, I think what we've always been striving for is to create an experience that's both really valued in the classroom, and then also valued finding extracurriculars outside of it. So I would just suggest, you know, there's a range of things from exchange opportunities, study abroad opportunities. We have a small travel fund to encourage people to undertake things. There are, I guess, 5 clubs within the faculty, 5 different student groups from accounting. I guess I'm double counting, but I'll put in the investment group.
Oh, yeah.
Visa. So, and the JDC West group. So, you know, we did a couple competitions in Alberta this year. We've hosted 3 or 4. It's just trying to provide opportunities for students. And I guess I'd say that there are a ton available. And right now, because we have fewer people on campus, the opportunities are really quite rich to take advantage of them. So
Sarah Penner took a group to, where did she, remind me, Hugh, where did she take, was it to Saskatoon or Regina? Was it a co-op case competition? Is that, have I got that right?
Pretty close. It was, the
Or
University of
not-for-profit.
Alberta runs a not-for-profit
That's what it was.
competition, and so
Yeah,
we sent a team of 4. They spent pretty much a week in Alberta, and it was a great experience, right? Just
yeah.
sort of meeting other students in your area. I think it's an important competition for us because I think the way we see ourselves in terms of evolving as a faculty, it's really looking at different business and managerial models outside perhaps the sort of narrow focus on a
Mhm.
for-profit organization. So we have a center with a study of cooperative enterprise. We do courses in social enterprise and in
Mhm.
some stuff in social innovation. So yeah, I think it's that's sort of important to us. I think in terms of, it's probably worth citing in terms of the classroom experience, I think what's always been emphasized at the University of Winnipeg, and I think it still remains true, is the smaller class size is truly an advantage. The opportunity to sort of get to know your instructor much better. I guess, David, I might pick on you. What's your biggest class size in first year?
Oh, gosh, 50, the max I would see is 55. I'm teaching a Saturday course, 1201 right now, that has 41 in it. And it's a perfect size, an absolute perfect size. I know quite a few of the students by name already, and it's not difficult with such a small number. And then at 4th year, I have 8 students in my special topics course on air transport, and they like baking. So every class, every Friday afternoon, someone's bringing in baking, and the pressure's on me to to reciprocate at some point. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to bake some scones or something. That's all I know how to bake. I can't bake anything else unless they want toast. So
Shoham, I know,
Interesting.
economics tends to run slightly higher first year sections, but I don't know. Can you sort of get a sense of the typical first year class and maybe the size of the second year and third year classes?
Yeah, so I guess the highest that our classes go up to would be 70, but usually it sort of doesn't reach that number. So stays at 50 or 60 per section of the first year courses. And then as you go to the higher year levels, then, the class sizes become smaller as you go higher up. So typical second year class would be about 30 students. And then a third year class would be 20. 4th year class would be 10 to 15. So it really gives, I guess, the opportunity to the instructors to get to know the students better and better as sort of these courses become smaller and smaller in terms of size, and give that personal attention that I guess Dr. Grant was talking about.
Nice. Yeah, so it is. I find it sometimes remarkable where I think between the 2 departments, there's about 1,500 declared majors. So, roughly about 1/6 of the undergraduate population at University of Winnipeg is in this faculty. And it just, somehow the arithmetic's interesting where you have a large number of students, and yet when you get to upper level courses, you're looking at classes ranging from 10 to 30 or something like that, and it really is a unique situation. And I do think, aside from, I don't know if people see it too much, but the University of Winnipeg's always promoting the small size of their classes, but it really is true, and it really does enhance, I think, the educational experience. So.
And it does have an impact on the method of instruction, right? Like when you have smaller classes, then you're able to do things that you're not necessarily able to do in a class with sort of bigger numbers. So just, have research papers, for example, in the upper level courses where, there's a lot of feedback that's given by the instructors on drafts that are submitted and so on. So that's of course possible just because, you have those 10, 15 students that you're dealing with rather than a much bigger number.
Yeah, agreed.
I suppose the other aspect that's been emerging is probably a third of our students now would be international, and it does provide, it enriches the experience, I guess I'm just trying to say that.
Mhm.
I think when we did a count a couple of years ago, we had international students from 50 different countries. And, you know, it's a little bit, if you can't afford to go do a world tour, then, you know, come to University of Winnipeg and we'll bring a bit of the world to you. So it really is a healthy situation. And so, yeah.
Maybe you should ask David, students to bake from different parts of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, we get from everywhere. Met students from lots of all four corners. It's quite fun, actually. I really enjoy that. They bring different perspectives. I remember I had a student years ago. She did a course with me, and she was originally from I think she was from Nigeria. And she was going to write a research paper, and in a fourth year class, they get to decide on what the topic is. And she wrote, we eventually settled, I worked with her for the first month of the course, and we settled on her writing a research paper on a very esoteric subject that speaks to the liberalization of air transport in Africa. And it's through a specific agreement called the Yamoussoukro Agreement. And I said, do a dive on something like that. I supplied her with quite a few resources to get her going. And she wrote a fantastic paper, an absolutely brilliant paper that I think I secured her permission to share with a colleague of mine overseas who was involved in this kind of work. And I encouraged her to go to graduate school. And I think she eventually went to the University of Saskatoon to do a master's degree, if I'm not mistaken. But an absolutely brilliant paper. I still have it, of course, because it's a brilliant piece of work.
Wow. Yeah, it's reminding me of, I guess, Calum, who was a student that just graduated last year, and he wrote this paper with another faculty member, and that was actually presented at the conference, the Canadian Economics Association conference, as an undergrad student paper. And yeah, just came out of his sort of coursework in a particular course.
I'm constantly surprised at I shouldn't be, but I am, the caliber of the students that we get specifically at fourth year. Yeah. Their maturity, their roundedness, their well-roundedness, because they come from different, different subject areas and they eventually land in our courses. And it really is remarkable. It really is. It's fantastic. It makes this, it's a privilege for the three of us to be in the job that we're in. Let's be really clear about that. It is an absolute privilege. And one of our colleagues said this to me. She said, we age, but our students don't, which is true. And it's fantastic to see that. It really is.
Yeah, I might just pick up on a couple things. Because I'm out of the economics side of the department, I know we've talked, Shom and I have talked in the past about the pride we take in some of the graduates that have come through the economics program. And I know business thinks much the same way, and rightfully so. So I guess I would just highlight particularly the honors degree in economics has been in place for quite a long time, and it has really a proud tradition of graduating some students, most of whom have gone on to do graduate work and then, other things. But Shoham, I think we count amongst our graduates the former Minister of Finance in Afghanistan, which is a rather exotic one.
Really?
But yeah, just a lot of people in academic positions and others. But I think on the business side, I might highlight perhaps the accounting program. It's an interesting area because the important thing, I think, if you're striving to be an accountant, is to go on and get your CPA designation and such. And so we'll get reports on the success of our students when they write that entrance exam into the discipline. And it's always really gratifying to see not only the high number that are coming through our program now, but also just how well they do on that that entrance exam. So yeah, I think we've been quite proud of building quite a robust accounting program. I think I did want to sneak in one word before, Nikita kicks us off here, but I just might, David, maybe I'll put this to you. So I'm not sure how many people are familiar with the term direct entry and such, but our business program is a direct entry school. In other words, if you qualified for admission to the university, you can declare your major in business administration. But David, you might want to talk a bit about, the next steps to make sure you succeed in the program and come out the other end as a, four-year accountant or marketing or whatever, just what sort of steps or barriers they would have to meet.
Yeah, well, thanks you. You are going to be asked to achieve in Business 1201 and Business 1202 at least a minimum grade of a C+. And the reason for that is that we can be assured that you have a good command of the material that has been presented at the first year. So we ask for that minimum grade of C+, and usually it takes a C+ to continue on in the program. There's some exceptions for that where the requirement might be a B in some courses. But if you get that good grounding at first year and you find yourself reasonably comfortable with the material, then I find that you should do well. We like to say that we certainly don't like to trick students, especially at first year, because it is, as Dr. Grant mentioned, it's an open entry program. So we want to challenge you, but we don't want to be unfair. So the grade is certainly attainable. It requires a lot of, obviously, input on your part or on a student's part to make sure that they are doing the work, putting in the time necessary. And that goes for any degree, any course that you're going to take. But yeah, that requirement of a C+ will propel you into the second year, and then you'll be able to specialize. Is that what you were thinking, Hugh, with that question?
Yeah, and also, do you require a minimum grade in the math or econ quant course? Is that out of first year? Or
I believe it's a C+ as well. Yeah, yeah.
And I know sometimes that's intimidating to students, but I think it's worth, to be fair, just data analytics, data visualization, big data.
Yeah.
Just more and more creeping its way into the discipline, I'd say, right? And so that really, in a sense, I think your department would be misleading people to think you can study a business degree without at least some sort of numeracy or, familiarity with that.
That's correct. Yeah. And that's exactly why we introduced that requirement for the math at the first year, because we did not want to be placing students in our second year courses where instructors are expecting a level of numeracy that wasn't there. That's not fair to students because that's setting them up for not doing well. So we've had that requirement for 5-6 years now, and that was put in, I should say, with input and feedback from employers who were saying that we need students that are coming out of a business degree that have a certain amount of numeracy skills and a good grasp of that, and that's why we did it.
And you see some of, I think we could take marketing as an example where I don't mean to trivialize it, but 10 years ago, you might be worried about website design or features like that, and thinking of what do I really need mathematics to sort of think how to best display or do digital ads or stuff like that. But now you look at the way data has emerged in there, right? So you have to get those analytics that come off the web page and be able to read them and understand just how effective some of this has become. And so I was quite struck with some of the candidates who've been hiring over the past few years, just how much even feel like marketing has changed dramatically, and even things like human resource management, that the sort of quantitative aspect is just increasingly coming into these disciplines. So I think it is a really important thing to say there's no reason to be frightened of this sort of quantitative requirement, and it wouldn't be just if we didn't sort of have that in there as a sense to signal to you that you've got to feel reasonably comfortable with that if you want to do a degree in business these days. So
yep, agreed.
Fair enough. Oh,
Yeah, sorry, we have a question. A student asked where they could find recording of the seminar. So it will be available on the University of Winnipeg's YouTube page. They will post it shortly. So you will have the recording if you do want to go over it again. Another question is, when is the due date for Bachelor's of Finance and Economics application, and when will someone know when they have been selected?
ooh,
So the deadline is the same as an application deadline, depending on if you're applying as an international student or a domestic student. Application dates are available on our website. That would be the deadline for all our programs if you're thinking of starting in September or spring, depending on what's your applicant status when you are applying. And once you've submitted an application, I would say let the admissions office have about 3 to 5 weeks of processing time, and they will get back to you with the final decision made on your file.
Nikita, was that my mother that was asking for the recording? Probably. Mom, go away. We're supposed to be, yeah. Just for students, Mom. Okay.
You'll be on YouTube.
Be on YouTube. I've always wanted to be on YouTube.
Nikita, if there was an international zooming in from somewhere exotic, you might explain that your backdrop is,
Oh, yeah.
Nikita, make some sounds so your backdrop comes on.
So my backdrop is actually the university. The castle that you see, this is the collegiate on campus. And right behind over here, just behind the flag, is the main campus of the University of Winnipeg. So
And it's winter right now, so that's a winter shot. The grass isn't quite as green as usual, but yeah. And yeah, truth in advertising, we say. Any closing thoughts? Sorry, Nikita, I know you're running the show, but I just was wondering if there are any closing thoughts that Shoham had thought up something he just can't.
Oh, no, I was thinking about the question on economics and finance, and I was thinking I should give a shout out to that economics and finance program that we have, EFIN. And as I mentioned, it's kind of unique in the sense that it has combination of different disciplines from which it draws, and economics, finance, business, and quantitative methods. And that makes it pretty versatile in terms of the applications that our graduates have been able to sort of use when they end up with a job and so on. So yeah, it's a very good program which has done really well, and I think both the departments are very proud of that program.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really like that program. That's very good.
David, thoughts on, I know it's fairly new, but thoughts on supply chain and ops?
Yeah, that's a kind of an exciting development for us. It's been in the pipeline for a number of years now, and we finally have that critical mass of some great people that we have on staff teaching into that program in a variety of really interesting courses. So it's I'm excited to see where that goes. So that's new. So join us in studying that, because you'll derive some benefits from learning from some pretty top-notch scholars in that field, and some great people actually. That's quite good. We're excited for that. Long time coming, as they say.
And I guess with a faculty complement of about 25 now, it's fairly evenly split across the content. Not that people can't cross over and teach both marketing and some other area, but you probably have about, kind of rule of thumb, 5 sort of marketing experts, 5 in HR, 5 in supply, roughly.
That's about right. Yeah.
A few more accountants, or about the same.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then there's a couple of folks who don't have a home per se. I probably count myself among them, who we kind of sit parallel but alongside and teach into a few different areas as needed. All rounders, as we call them. But yeah, no, we do. We're getting to that size where we have, groups, discrete groups and concentrations and disciplines where, there's a lot of activity and they feed off each other and direct the trajectory of their own programs and their courses and what should be next. And it's an exciting time because we can start thinking about, what are the next directions for what comprises our BBA program? What new courses should we be offering? And, how do we respond to the needs of students, the needs of society, the needs of employers in this day and age?
Right. Okay, good stuff. And is that a dead animal hanging on your doorknob?
No, oh, for mine, no, those are conference tags.
Oh, sorry, it looked like
That's what that is. Looks like a tail. No,
looked
it's
like a
not.
muskrat pelt, so I just
No.
wanted to- okay.
Those are old conference tags.
I didn't want to alarm
Block it out.
anyone in the audience, so.
Yeah.
Nikita, over to you.
All right, I don't think we have any more questions. I think that's it for the evening. Again, like Dr. Grant mentioned, David Duval and Dr. Bakshi mentioned, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to them. They will assist you. And welcome to the University of Winnipeg if you've already been accepted. And if not, we look forward to welcoming you in fall.